do and ask you, we have two Pitt guys here on the broadcast. We see the first Pitt player taken, D-end, going to Minnesota. How does that fit?
Well, I love Patrick Jones.
Yeah, no, you can go, Cale.
I love Patrick Jones. I love the journey he had at Pitt. He was a non-factor really, and over the last 2 seasons has just turned into an absolute animal. He was a beast the last 2 years for Pitt, and was one of the reasons why they had one of the best pass rushes in all of college football. I think he is just the prototypical defensive end. I think he could fill out a little bit more, but he's long. He has excellent pass rush moves. He's strong, and he just looks physically imposing, man. And that's the thing too. I mean, he looks like almost like a Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, that's like a different comparison from when he came out. Obviously, that's high praise, but he's got that kind of look, man, of just the athletic freak, long defensive end you want. He was so productive at Pitt. The improvements he made over his career were so impressive and deserve acknowledgement and respect. I think this is a good pick for the Vikings, and I'm surprised he didn't go a little bit earlier, but I wouldn't be surprised either if we see Rashad Weaver off the board here either, because I think those guys were, kind of neck and neck in terms of ability, in terms of production. Weaver, I think, was even a little more productive last year. Jones had some near sacks that he didn't end up getting there, but he was absolute stud at just creating pressure and causing havoc.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great pick for the Vikings, and I'm glad to see the first Panther off the board.
Yeah, Patrick Jones II ends up going to Minnesota, D-end out of Pitt. It also helps the Pitt program again, win, lose, or draw. They churn NFL players, and that continues here, getting a player selected, certainly a fit for Minnesota, certainly a player that had success at Pitt, certainly a part of that defense. Again, win, lose, or draw, they churn NFL players. It's something that Pat Narduzzi can keep saying to recruits, and certainly helps the Pitt program. Nick, you watch a lot of Pitt ball as well. Patrick Jones II going to Minnesota. How does he fit into the Vikings scheme and what the Vikings like to do?
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings are a 4-3 team. Let's understand that. They are a team that plays at a base end. So this is exactly the same scheme he played at Pitt on the front. He's going to be a base 4-3 D end. So this is not going to be a big leap schematically for him. He's going to be a looper. He's very effective at that. Now, I do think he's a little light. Jones was a guy that really needs to fill out his frame. He has that length, but again, he didn't really ever beat guys with much power. And I feel like that's a thing he could add to his game, but with his speed, with his flexibility, with the prototypical tools he has, I think Patrick Jones could be a really good football player. Opposite to Hunter, they needed this. I think Jones, I think Weaver is the better player. I personally prefer Rashad Weaver. I think he's more, polished right now. I think he has the ability to add even more. He might not be as explosive.
Does Jones fit more into Minnesota?
I mean, yes, because they look for athletes. And I think Rashad Weaver, the one thing he lacked was twitch off the line of scrimmage. And Jones definitely had the more athletic profile than Weaver, but Weaver is going to be a really productive. I think Weaver's going to be a productive 8 to 10 sack guy just through technical ability alone.
You look at Weaver's hands, and I think that's what really separates him apart. I mean, we've seen these featurettes they do on his Krav Maga training and all that stuff, almost the Aaron Donald knife stuff. Similar in a sense, I think his hand fighting is what sets him apart. I mean, he is just so he's just so lethal with those moves, and I think that's the thing with both of these pass rushers is that these guys are technicians with the moves that they put on guys, and they're able to get free on, and they've had success in a very good conference, and they've gone up against top flight offensive tackles and had success. I think the thing with Weaver too, they might
and great quarterbacks.
Yeah, and great quarterbacks. I think the thing with Weaver too is he does have a little more weight to his frame than Jones does. I think I would give the edge to Weaver in that aspect too. But the other thing is he actually had some experience at Pitt playing at defensive tackle. So for teams, maybe in a pass rushing set, they want to slide him inside the tackle and get him matched up with a center or a guard. I think he has that versatility to potentially do that at the next level if teams want an added way to utilize him. He has that experience. He had success in that role at Pitt at the few times they did use him in those areas. So, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Rashad Weaver off the board here pretty quickly for the Panthers. Another guy too, if we're talking about the Pitt prospects, I know a guy that is Mel Kiper Jr., who we talked about earlier, is the OG in this whole thing.
He's the OG for
a
sure.
guy that he keeps coming back to and mentioning is Damar Hamlin. The Pitt.
I love Damar
the
Hamlin.
Pitt free safety from Central
Yeah.
Catholic.
Yeah.
He was a guy who decided to come back last year, and I think by all accounts really improved his stock. He also improved his stock at the Senior Bowl. He got an interception at the Senior Bowl. He's a guy who is a sure tackler. He can be that center fielder back there, which was something he was trusted to do at Pitt, as Pat Narduzzi wants to put his guys on islands at corners. You need that single high safety at the top there. He was great in that center fielder role, and he can also go down in the slot. He's a good cover guy as well. So you can put him on slot receivers. He can cover tight ends, whatever you need him to do. I think his versatility, and also leadership as well. He was a captain for the Panthers. The team rallied around him. I think he would be a great find for a team here as we get to the end of the third round or early coming up in the fourth tomorrow. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Damar Hamlin off the board here soon as well.
Again, Damar Hamlin's somebody that I definitely think has the know-how, has the ability, maybe underrated overall as a prospect. I definitely think he can have success at the next level. And no, he wouldn't be a first-round pick, but at this point in the third round, he definitely could make sense. Patrick Jones II to the Vikings, that makes sense. He fits in what they're trying to do. I get the conversation about Weaver, but I think that's a great pick. And again, it's a great situation for the Pitt program to be able to say, we are churning NFL prospects. That certainly can help recruiting.